The refugee ship crashed into the docking bay with sparks flying from its damaged hull. Station alarms blared across Meridian 7 as emergency crews rushed forward. Captain Jake watched from the observation deck, his coffee growing cold in his hand. Something about that ship bothered him. It looked like it had flown through hell to get here. The ship's door hissed open, and a tall, thin alien stumbled out. His blue skin was covered in burns, and one of his 4 arms hung useless at his side. Station medics caught him before he collapsed. Jake set down his coffee and headed for the docking bay. He had a bad feeling about this. By the time Jake arrived, the alien was sitting on a medical crate, refusing treatment. His large black eyes were wet with tears. Station security stood nearby, unsure what to do. Jake pushed through the small crowd that had gathered. "I'm Captain," Jake said, keeping his voice calm. "What happened to you?" The alien looked up at him. "You are human." "Yes," Jake said. "My ship, the Horizon's Edge, is docked here. We're on a diplomatic mission." The alien grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. "Then you must help us, please. My people are dying." Jake knelt down to the alien's level. "Start from the beginning. What's your name?" "I am X, a merchant from Prime." The alien's voice shook. "3 weeks ago the came. Their ships filled our skis. They said we had 2 days to surrender or they would burn our world." "Did you contact the Galactic Council?" Jake asked. X laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "We sent distress signals the moment they arrived. The council sent back a message saying they would schedule a diplomatic meeting. A meeting while bombs fall on our cities." Jake felt his jaw tighten. He had heard stories like this before. The Galactic Council was good at talking but bad at doing anything useful. "How did you escape?" Jake asked. "I used my trading ship," X said. "I loaded it with as many children as I could fit. We ran past the blockade. They shot at us. We barely made it through the jump." He looked at Jake with desperate eyes. "I came here because I heard stories. Stories about humans. They say you come from they say you don't abandon people who need help. Jake stood up slowly. Wait here, I need to make some calls. 20 minutes later, Ambassador Lisa arrived at the docking bay. She was a short woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been humanity's voice in the Galactic Council for 5 years. Jake had worked with her before and respected her greatly. Lisa sat down next to X and listened to his story again. She asked detailed questions about the forces, their weapons, and the condition of his people. When X finished, Lisa was quiet for a long moment. I will bring this to the council immediately, she said. 2 hours later, the council chamber was full. Representatives from 20 different species sat in a circle. Al, a tall alien with purple scales and too many teeth, led the meeting. He listened to X's plea with obvious boredom. The council is aware of the situation on Prime, Al said when X finished. We are monitoring it closely. Monitoring. Lisa stood up from her seat. His people are being slaughtered and you're monitoring. Al's eyes narrowed. Ambassador, you humans have been part of the galactic community for barely 200 years. Perhaps you don't understand how these matters work. The Dominion is a major power. They have 300 warships. Starting a war with them could destabilize the entire sector. So you do nothing. Lisa's voice was cold. We pursue diplomatic channels, Al said. He turned to X. Your people should negotiate. Surrender with terms. They are not unreasonable. X stood up, his whole body shaking. They killed my wife. They burned the art district where my children studied. There is nothing to negotiate. Then your people should have built a stronger military, Al said with a shrug. The galaxy is not kind to the weak. Lisa's face went red. Jake, standing in the back of the chamber, had to respect how she kept her voice steady. So the council will do nothing. The council will continue to pursue all diplomatic options, Al said. It was clearly a dismissal. Lisa turned and walked out. Jake and X followed her. Once they were in the corridor, Lisa pulled out her communicator. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," she said. "Priority Alpha." "What are you doing?" X asked. Lisa smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone about to do something that would make a lot of people very angry. "I'm calling in the people who actually help when someone asks for it." Back in his ship, Jake opened an encrypted channel to Earth Defense Command. He typed a simple message: "Code Terran Shield. Prime. Invasion. Council refusing to act. Request immediate response." He added the coordinates and all the tactical data X had provided. Then he hit send. The reply came back in less than 10 minutes. "Message received. Response authorized. ETA 3 weeks. Tell them help is coming." Jake went back to find X. The alien was in the medical bay, finally letting the doctors treat his burns. Lisa was sitting beside him, talking quietly. "X," Jake said. The alien looked up. "I just got word from Earth. Help is coming." "How many ships?" X asked. "They have 28 warships in orbit around my world. How many ships can you send?" Jake glanced at Lisa. She nodded. The Third Fleet is mobilizing," Jake said. 47 warships, 200 support vessels, and 15,000 Marines. X's eyes went wide. That's an entire war fleet for us. But we have nothing to offer in return." "We don't want anything in return," Lisa said gently. "That's not how humans work." The next day, Al summoned Lisa to his office. He was angry. "You contacted your military without council approval," he said. "This is highly irregular." A species was crying for help," Lisa said. "We answered. That's not irregular. That's called having a conscience." Al's scales rippled with irritation. "You humans think you can solve everything with your primitive weapons and your aggression. The will crush your fleet. You're sending your people to die for strangers." Lisa met his eyes. "Maybe, but at least we're doing something. When children ask who helped them, they won't remember the council that talked. They'll remember the humans who came." She turned and walked out, leaving Al staring after her. 3 days later, word spread through Meridian 7 that a human war fleet had left Earth. Most of the aliens on the station thought the humans were fools. A few thought they were heroes. Everyone agreed on one thing. In 3 weeks, they would find out what happened when went to war. X stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Jake stood beside him. "Oh, do you really think you can win?" X asked quietly. Jake was quiet for a moment. "I don't know, but I know we'll try. And I know we won't stop until your people are safe or we're all dead." X looked at the human. Humans were strange creatures, short-lived and aggressive. But in that moment, he thought they might be the bravest species in the galaxy. "Thank you," X whispered. Jake just nodded and kept watching the stars, waiting for his people to arrive. Admiral Hayes stood in the command center of Earth's orbital station, looking at the holographic display floating in front of her. 300 ships blinked in various colors, showing their positions across human space. She had been expecting this call. When humans joined the galactic community, they made a promise to each other. Never again would they stand by while innocent people suffered. "Status report," said. A young officer looked up from her console. "Third Fleet is at 90% readiness. The carrier Valiant is finishing repairs at Mars. The rest of the fleet is ready to move." Nodded. She had commanded ships for 30 years, fought in the colony wars, and seen things that gave her nightmares. But this was different. This time, they weren't fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting because someone asked for help. "Send word to General Foster," said. "Tell him to get his Marines ready. Full combat load." Across the station, General Foster was already briefing his troops. The briefing room was packed with Marines in their gray uniforms. They were young, most of them, but their eyes were hard. They had trained on Earth's harsh surface, in deserts and jungles and frozen wastelands. They were ready. "Listen up," said his voice carrying across the room. "You've all seen the reports. They are a peaceful people. Artists, philosophers, merchants. They've never fought a war in their recorded history. 3 weeks ago, the decided that made them easy targets. He pulled up images on the screen behind him. Cities burning, civilians running through streets, children crying. The Galactic Council is doing nothing, continued. They're having meetings and writing reports while people die. So we're going to do what we do best. We're going to remind the galaxy that some species still believe in doing the right thing. A Marine in the front row raised her hand. Sir, what do we know about the... Good question, Martinez. Switched to tactical data. They are bigger than us, stronger than us individually. They have energy weapons that can cut through most materials. Their ships are fast and their shields are tough. So how do we win? Another Marine asked. Smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Because they've never fought anyone from They don't understand that humans are hard to kill. They don't know that we heal fast, fight dirty, and never quit. They're about to get an education. The Marines cheered. Let them have their moment, then raised his hand for quiet. Remember your training, he said. Protect the civilians. Follow the rules of engagement. We're not there to conquer. We're there to save lives. Understood? Yes, sir. The Marines shouted in unison. In another part of the station, Dr. Amy was giving her own briefing to the command staff. She was someone who studied alien life. The hologram in front of her showed the biological differences between humans and most galactic species. Most species in the galaxy evolved on what we call garden worlds, Amy explained. Stable temperatures, mild weather, few predators. Their gravity is usually lower than Earth's, about 0.8 standard compared to our 1.3. She pulled up a comparison chart. This means humans are naturally stronger and more durable. Our bones are denser. Our muscles are tougher. We can take hits that would kill most aliens. Admiral Hayes leaned forward. What about healing? That's the interesting part, Amy said. Human healing is remarkably fast compared to galactic standard. A broken bone that takes us 6 months to heal takes us 6 weeks. We can fight through injuries that would incapacitate other species. Our pain tolerance is also much higher. Why? Someone asked. Amy shrugged. Evolution. Earth is a harsh world. Humans who couldn't heal fast and push through pain didn't survive to pass on their genes. We're the descendants of survivors. What about the psychological aspect? Hayes asked. Amy's expression grew serious. That's where it gets complicated. Humans have a capacity for violence that scares most galactic species. But we also have a capacity for compassion and self-sacrifice. We're the only species that will risk everything to save strangers. The galaxy doesn't know what to make of us. Hayes stood up. Let's show them. The fleet began gathering. From Earth's orbit, from Mars, from the colonies on Titan and Europa, ships powered up their engines and moved into formation. The Valiant, a massive carrier ship, took position at the center. Around it, cruisers and destroyers formed a protective screen. Behind them, supply ships and medical vessels prepared for the long journey. Commander Ben Torres stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the fleet form up through the main window. He had served on carriers for 15 years. This was the largest fleet he had ever seen assembled. All squadrons report ready, his tactical officer said. Ben nodded. Tell the pilots to get some rest. In 3 weeks, they're going to earn their pay. Down in the fighter bay, Lieutenant Grant was running final checks on her fighter. The small, fast ship was loaded with missiles and ammunition. She ran her hand along the hull, feeling the cool metal. You ready for this? Her wingman asked. Looked at him. We're flying into a war zone to fight an enemy that outnumbers us. Half the galaxy thinks we're crazy. And grinned, and I wouldn't miss it for anything. The pilots gathered in their ready room, stood in front of them. 20 pilots, men and women who had trained together for years. They have been bombing Prime for 3 weeks, said. They think they can do whatever they want because nobody will stop them. In 3 weeks, we're going to prove them wrong. She pulled up tactical data. They use energy weapons. Fast, accurate, deadly. But they've never fought against human pilots. They don't know about our reaction time advantage. They don't know about our combat instincts. We're going to hit them so fast they won't know what happened. One of the younger pilots looked nervous. Lieutenant, what if we lose? Met his eyes. Then we lose fighting for something that matters, but we're not going to lose. You know why? Because humans don't quit. Ever. When they think we're beaten, we'll still be fighting. When they think we're dead, we'll still be shooting. That's what it means to be from Earth. The pilots nodded. They understood. Admiral Hayes gave the final order from the command center. All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. Our mission is simple. We're going to prime. We're going to remove the occupation. We're going to save as many civilians as we can. And we're going to show the galaxy what humans stand for. She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. Young and old, men and women from every corner of Earth and its colonies. They were ready. The Galactic Council thinks we're crazy, Hayes continued. They think we're throwing our lives away for strangers. Maybe they're right. But I'd rather die helping someone than live knowing I did nothing. Wouldn't you? The command center erupted in cheers. All ships, Hayes said, her voice steady. Prepare for jump. Destination prime. Let's go bring those people home. One by one, the ships began to glow as their jump drives powered up. It was a sight that would have terrified most species. 300 ships, armed for war, ready to cross half the galaxy for people they had never met. General Foster watched from the marine deck as the stars began to blur. Beside him, his second-in-command spoke quietly. Sir, do you think they know we're coming? Smiled grimly. They will soon. And when they do, they're going to learn why you don't pick on the weak. Not when humans are watching. The fleet jumped. Space twisted and bent as the ships entered hyperspace. 3 weeks of travel lay ahead. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks for the to enjoy their victory. After that, everything would change. Back on Meridian 7, Jake received a message from Admiral Hayes. It was simple. Fleet is moving. Tell that help is coming. Jake found X in his quarters. The alien was staring at a photo of his family. Most of them were dead now, killed in the first week of the invasion. X, Jake said gently. The alien looked up with tired eyes. The fleet just jumped. They're on their way. X stood up slowly. How long? 3 weeks. Will my people survive that long? Jake wished he could promise, but he was an honest man. I don't know, but I know this. In 3 weeks, they are going to face the full force of Earth's military. And when that happens, your people will be free or we'll all be dead trying. And X reached out and touched Jake's shoulder. Why do you do this? You could stay here safe. Why risk everything? Jake thought about his answer carefully. Because someone has to, because it's right, because we're human and that's what we do. It was a simple answer. But sometimes the simple answers were the truest ones. Supreme Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominance, watching Prime burn below. Fires dotted the night side of the planet like angry stars. It was beautiful in its own way. The beauty of conquest, of power, of inevitable victory. The status report commanded. Captain L checked her display. The northern continent has surrendered. The southern continent is negotiating terms. The main resistance is in the underground shelters beneath the capital city. How long until we break them? 2 weeks, maybe 3. They have food and water, but their morale is failing. Nodded with satisfaction. The had been easier than expected. Their ships were trading vessels, not warships. Their weapons were mining tools, not military hardware. They were sheep waiting for the wolf. Any word from the Galactic Council? Asked. L laughed. They sent another message asking us to attend a diplomatic meeting. I deleted it. Good. The council is full of cowards. They talk while we act. That's why the Dominion grows stronger every year. Beneath the planet's surface, Elder Myras sat in a bunker that had become a tomb for her dreams. Around her, families huddled in the dim light. Children cried. Adults stared at nothing, broken by weeks of bombing and death. Elder, one of her advisors, said quietly, "We have food for maybe 2 more weeks, water for a month, but people are giving up hope." Myras looked at her people. They were a gentle species. They made art, wrote poetry, studied the stars. They had never prepared for war because they never believed anyone would attack them. They were wrong. "Send another message to the council," Myras said. "Elder, we've sent 15 messages. They keep saying they're working on it." "Then send 16. The advisor left. Myers knew it was pointless. The council would do nothing. They would either surrender or die. Those were the only choices left. 2 weeks before the human fleet would arrive, a small ship appeared at the edge of the system. It was dark, running on minimal power, invisible to most sensors. Inside, Lieutenant Greg Sanders checked his equipment one final time. 2 minutes to drop," the pilot said. Greg looked at his team. 5 other humans, all special forces, all veterans. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they might not make it back. "Remember the briefing," Greg said. "We're not here to fight. We're here to scout, gather intel, and help the resistance survive until the fleet arrives." The sergeant checked her weapon. "And if they find us?" Greg smiled. "Then we remind them why humans are called." The team jumped from orbit. They fell through the atmosphere in specialized suits, avoiding sensors. They landed in a forest 20 miles from the capital city. Within an hour, they had hidden their gear and begun moving toward the resistance. It took them 2 days to make contact. A patrol found them first, weapons raised despite their shaking hands. "We're here to help," Greg said, hands up and empty. The others stared at them. "You're human." "Yes, we heard you needed help." The patrol leader's weapon lowered. "The council sent you." No, Earth sent us. They were brought to the bunker to Elder Myra's. She looked at the 6 humans standing before her. They were shorter than thicker, with dense muscles and skin that looked tough. Their eyes were alert, scanning constantly like predators. 6 soldiers, Myra said quietly, against an army. Greg knelt so he was at her eye level. We're not here to fight your war. We're here to keep you alive until our fleet arrives. Fleet, Myra's eyes widened. How many ships? 47 warships, 200 support vessels, 15,000 Marines. The bunker went silent. Then someone laughed. Then everyone was talking at once. Silence, Myra's commanded. When quiet returned, she looked at Greg. Why would your people send such a force for us? We have nothing to offer. We don't want anything, Greg said simply. Someone asked for help. We answered. Over the next week, the humans worked with the resistance. They were shocked by what they learned about and they were equally shocked by the humans. Watched Greg lift a collapsed beam that was blocking a tunnel. 3 struggled to help him, but he was doing most of the work himself. How is he so strong? One asked. Earth has higher gravity than your world, explained. About 1.5 times. Growing up there makes us stronger. Later, one of the team medics treated a wounded fighter. The alien had been shot 3 days ago and was dying from infection. Can you help him? Myra asked desperately. The medic injected antibiotics and sealed the wound with synthetic skin. He'll be fine in a few days. Days, Myra stared. That injury would take months to heal for us. The medic shrugged. Humans heal fast. It's necessary where we come from. Greg set up surveillance equipment on the surface, watching positions. Stayed with him, scanning the enemy movements. They're getting lazy, observed. Look at their patrol patterns, predictable. They think they've already won. Oh, good, Greg said. Complacent enemies make mistakes. He sent encrypted reports back to the incoming fleet. Ship positions, shield frequencies, weapon placements, Everything Admiral Hayes would need for the attack. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander received his own intelligence reports. His tactical officer brought him troubling news. Commander, we've intercepted transmissions mentioning humans. It appears a human fleet is approaching the system. Waved dismissively. Humans. The primitives who only joined the galactic community 200 years ago. Yes, Commander. According to our data, they have 47 warships. And we have 28 of the finest ships in the Dominion, said. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They still use kinetic weapons for Star's sake. Bullets and missiles like savages. L looked uncertain. Commander, our intelligence also notes that humans come from a class 12. Perhaps we should prepare for... Prepare for what? Interrupted. They're from a harsh world, so what? That doesn't make them warriors. It makes them lucky to survive their own planet. But Elle had done her research. Commander, there are reports. Incidents involving humans. A pirate crew tried to board a human merchant vessel last year. All 15 pirates were killed by 3 human crew members. There was a diplomatic incident on Taurus Station where a human was stabbed 7 times and still fought off his attackers. They're dangerous, sir. He laughed. Elle, you're letting rumors frighten you. Yes, humans are durable. But durability doesn't win space battles. Technology does. And we have superior technology. In the bunker, Greg gathered the resistance leaders. He pulled up a holographic display of the system. In 72 hours, the human fleet will arrive here. He pointed at the edge of the system. We'll move to intercept. That's when the real fighting starts. What do we do? Myra's asked. You stay here and keep your people safe. We've marked safe zones on your map. Move civilians there. When the shooting starts, it's going to get very dangerous on the surface. What about you? Greg smiled. We'll be calling in targets for our ships, keeping them busy, doing what we do best. Pulled Myra's aside later. Elder, I need to be honest with you. This is going to be brutal. Space combat is ugly. When our ships start firing, people will die. Lots of people. But you'll win. It was quiet for a moment. I don't know. They have good ships and experienced crews, but they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. That might be enough. Oh, you're not certain of victory, yet you came anyway. That's what humans do, said. We show up even when we might lose. Because some things are worth fighting for, even if you're not sure you'll win. Myra's felt tears in her eyes. I don't understand your species. Most people don't, said with a smile. But you'll learn. 3 days before the fleet arrived, received another report. The human fleet had been detected at the system's edge. They were coming. Deploy the fleet, commanded. All ships to battle stations. We'll meet them in open space and destroy them before they reach the planet. Commander, El said carefully, perhaps we should request reinforcements. Reinforcements. His eyes narrowed. You think we need help to defeat a bunch of primitives? I think caution would be wise, sir. Your caution is noted and dismissed. We will crush these humans and send their broken ships back to there as a warning. No one challenges the Dominion. In the bunker, Greg received a final message from Admiral Hayes. Entering system in 3 hours. Stay safe down there. Greg gathered his team. This is it. When the shooting starts, we protect these people, whatever it takes. They nodded. They were ready. Myra's watched the humans prepare their equipment. They moved with calm efficiency like this was just another day. She realized they had done this before, fought impossible battles, faced terrible odds, and somehow survived. Greg, she said quietly, thank you for coming, for caring. Greg looked at her. 3 hours from now, Elder, you're going to see what happens when you threaten innocent people while humans are watching. It's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be effective. Above them, the fleet moved into position. 28 warships, confident and ready. At the edge of the system, human ships began to appear. One by one, they dropped out of hyperspace. 47 warships. 200 support vessels, a fleet that had crossed half the galaxy for strangers, watched the human ships appear on his screens. Is that all of them? Yes, Commander. Then we outnumber them significantly in terms of total vessels. This will be easier than I thought. Open a channel. Let's see if we can make them surrender without wasting ammunition. The channel opened. Admiral Hayes appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. This is Admiral Hayes of the Terran Defense Forces. You are ordered to withdraw from space immediately. Smiled. Or what, Admiral? You'll shoot at us with your primitive weapons. Go home, human. This doesn't concern you. Hayes' expression didn't change. This concerns anyone with a conscience. Leave now, or we'll remove you. You were warned, said. Destroy them. Hayes' response was cold and final. You were warned too. The battle was about to begin. The first shot came from the flagship. A brilliant beam of energy cut through space, aimed directly at Admiral Hayes' command ship. On a normal vessel, that shot would have burned through the hull and killed everyone inside. The human ship's armor took the hit. Metal glowed white-hot but held. Emergency systems activated, venting heat and rerouting power. All ships weapons free, Admiral Hayes said calmly. The human fleet opened fire. They were expecting lasers or energy weapons like their own. Instead, they got something they hadn't seen in centuries: mass drivers and missiles. Chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. Explosives that didn't care about energy shields. A cruiser's shields lit up as a human round hit it. The shields held for a fraction of a second, then failed. The round punched through the hull like paper. Atmosphere vented into space as the ship spun out of control. What are they shooting at us? Captain L shouted on the flagship. Kinetic weapons, her tactical officer reported. Solid projectiles moving at .3 light speed. Our shields weren't designed for this kind of impact. Adjust shield frequencies, commanded. It won't matter, sir. These aren't energy weapons. Changing frequency does nothing against physical mass. Commander Ben Torres watched from the Valiant's bridge as his carrier group moved into position. Around him, dozens of small fighters launched from the carrier bays, their engines glowing bright against the darkness. All squadrons, this is Valiant Actual, Ben said. Enemy fighters are launching. Engage at will. Lieutenant Grant led her squadron into the fight. Fighters were fast and elegant, designed for precision strikes. Human fighters were blunt and aggressive, designed to take hits and keep flying. The two groups met in a storm of weapons fire. Energy beams lanced through space. Human missiles streaked forward, trailing fire. The battle became chaos. A pilot got on tail, his weapons charging. He fired. The beam hits fighter, scorching the armor. Damage alarms screamed in her cockpit. Didn't panic. She cut her engines and fired maneuvering thrusters, spinning her fighter in a way that normal physics. The pilot, expecting her to run, overshot, locked on and fired. Her missiles hit his engines. The fighter exploded. Splash 1 reported. Her voice was steady despite her racing heart. Around her, the same scene played out dozens of times. Pilots were skilled and their technology was advanced. But human pilots had one advantage. They came from a world where a single mistake meant death. Their reflexes were faster, their instincts sharper. They flew like people who had grown up dodging predators. They're too fast, a pilot screamed over the radio. How are they reacting so quickly? No one answered him. He was dead 3 seconds later, shot down by a human pilot who had seen his attack coming before he even started it. On the surface of Prime, Greg Sanders and his team watched the battle through their scopes. Explosions lit up the sky like new stars being born. Fleets engaging, said beside him. Looks like a hell of a fight. Stay focused, Greg said. The on the ground are going to panic soon. That's when they get dangerous. He was right. As word of the battle reached the ground forces, commanders started making desperate decisions. Some ordered retreats. Others ordered attacks on civilian shelters, trying to use these as hostages. Greg's team moved fast. They hit positions from behind, using guerrilla tactics. A squad of soldiers marching toward a civilian shelter suddenly found themselves under fire from shadows they couldn't see. Contact rear, a soldier shouted. We're under attack. They turned to face the threat, but the humans had already moved. A grenade rolled into their position. The explosion scattered the squad, took down 3 soldiers with precise shots. Greg's team eliminated the rest. The whole fight lasted less than a minute. Shelter secure, Greg reported to Elder Myras. Stay inside, more fighting coming. In space, the battle was turning. The had started with 28 ships. After 2 hours of fighting, they were down to 19. The humans had lost 3 destroyers, but their fleet was still mostly intact. How is this possible? Screamed. Our technology is superior. Our ships are faster. Their ships are tougher, sir, Elle reported. She was wounded, bleeding from a head injury. They built them like tanks. Redundant systems, heavy armor, multiple backup generators. We hit them and they keep fighting. A human cruiser loomed on the main screen. Its hull was and burned. Weapons bays were dark, but it kept firing. One of its engines was gone, but the other 3 pushed it forward. Oh, that ship should be dead, said in disbelief. It's crewed by humans, sir, Elle said quietly. They don't die easily. Admiral Hayes watched the tactical display. They were breaking formation, trying to scatter. Some were heading back toward the planet. Others were trying to escape the system. All ships pursue, Hayes ordered. Don't let them reach the planet. Protect the civilians. Commander Torres brought the Valiant around. His fighter squadrons were already chasing the fleeing ships. Admiral, we have enemy ships trying to make a run for hyperspace, Torres reported. Block them, Hayes said. Nobody leaves until this is over. Human destroyers moved to cut off the escape routes. They were trapped between the main fleet and the blocking force. Sir, we need to retreat, El begged. Retreat to where? Looked around his bridge. Half his crew was dead or wounded. His ships were being torn apart. How did this happen? We underestimated them, sir. Watched another of his cruisers explode. Send a surrender signal before they kill us all. Sir, do it. The surrender signal went out across all channels. The human fleet stopped firing. For a moment, space was quiet except for the hum of engines and the hiss of venting atmosphere from damaged ships. Hayes opened a channel to the flagship. "This is Admiral Hayes. You are ordered to stand down and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that attempts to flee or fight will be destroyed. Acknowledge." His face appeared on screen. His pride was gone, replaced by shock and fear. "We acknowledge, we surrender. All ground forces will lay down their weapons immediately," Hayes continued. "Any violence against civilians will be met with extreme force. Do you understand?" "Oh, yes." Hayes cut the channel. She looked at her crew. They were exhausted, some wounded, but they had won. "Whose status?" she asked. "3 destroyers lost. 5 ships heavily damaged but operational. Casualties at 400 dead, 900 wounded," her tactical officer reported. 400 dead. Hayes felt the weight of each one. But they had saved a planet. That had to count for something. "Send medical ships to assist the wounded," Hayes ordered. "Sir." Her first officer looked surprised. "They surrendered. We treat them according to the rules of war. Send medical teams." On the surface, soldiers began throwing down their weapons. Some tried to fight. Greg's team and the resistance dealt with them quickly. Most just wanted to go home. Elder Myers emerged from the bunker for the first time in weeks. She looked up at the sky. The fires were fading. The bombing had stopped. Above, human ships circled the planet like protective guardians. "Is it over?" she asked Greg. "It's over," Greg confirmed. "Your people are free." Myra's fell to her knees and wept. Around her, emerged from shelters and bunkers, blinking in the sunlight, hardly believing they had survived. Stood next to Greg, watching the celebration begin. We lost a lot of good people up there. I know, Greg said quietly. But look at what they died for. A whole planet, millions of lives, that means something. In orbit, Admiral Hayes prepared to address both the and her own fleet. She stood before the camera, looking tired but unbowed. This is Admiral Hayes to all forces. The battle for Prime is over. The have surrendered. The planet is free. She paused, gathering her thoughts. We came here because someone asked for help. We came knowing we might die. 400 of our people did die fighting for strangers they never met. Remember them. Honor them. They gave everything so others could live. Another pause. To the people, you are free. Rebuild, heal. Remember this day. Remember that you were not alone. Remember that humans keep their promises. She ended the transmission. Around her, the bridge crew stood at attention, saluting their fallen comrades. On the flagship sat in his command chair, defeated. Human Marines had boarded his ship, treating the wounded and securing the vessel. They were professional, even kind. It made his defeat worse somehow. They're not what I expected, he said to Elle. What did you expect? Savages, barbarians. Instead, they fight with honor and show mercy to the defeated. He shook his head. We were fools to underestimate them. Yes, sir, we were. Commander Ben Torres walked onto the bridge. He looked at without hostility. Supreme Commander, you'll be transported to a holding ship pending trial for war crimes. You'll be treated fairly under the terms of the Galactic Convention. Why? Asked. Why show mercy? Ben considered the question. Because we're human. We're capable of terrible violence, but we're also capable of mercy. That's what separates us from people like you. He turned and left. Watched him go, understanding for the first time why humans frightened the galaxy. They were warriors when they needed to be, but they chose peace when they could. That made them far more dangerous than any species that only knew war. On Prime, the celebration continued. Elder Myra's found Greg as he prepared to return to orbit. Thank you, she said simply. You already thanked us. I know, but I'll keep saying it until the words mean enough. Greg smiled. They already do, Elder, they already do. As the human ships prepared to leave, Myra stood watching the sky. A message came through from Admiral Hayes. Elder Myra's human medical teams and engineers will remain to help with reconstruction. We'll stay until you're back on your feet. Thank you, Admiral. No thanks needed. This is what humans do. Myra's thought about those words as she watched human shuttles land, bringing aid and supplies. This is what humans do. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days, every species knew what had happened at Prime. The humans had defeated the Dominion in less than 4 hours. 28 warships reduced to scattered debris and surrender. The recordings of the battle spread like wildfire through the galactic network. Al watched the battle footage for the 5th time, his scales pale with shock. He had called humans primitive. He had laughed at their offer to help. Now he was being summoned to an emergency council session to explain why he had ignored the plea for help. At Meridian 7, the council chamber was packed. Representatives from 100 species crowded in to hear what would be said. Ambassador Lisa stood calmly in the center, waiting. Captain Jake stood beside her, his face neutral. Al entered and took his position. He tried to look confident, but his hands shook slightly. This council will address the incident at Prime, the council speaker announced. She was an ancient being from a species humans had never seen before. Al, you rejected the petition for help. You told them to negotiate with their attackers. Why? Al straightened his spine. The Dominion is a major power. Intervening would have risked a wider war. The Council must think of the greater good. The greater good, Lisa said quietly. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Yes, Al said. We cannot rush to war every time a minor species faces conflict. So you did nothing, Lisa said. Her voice was still quiet, but there was steel underneath. You sent diplomatic messages and held meetings while civilians died. Children died. Artists and teachers and merchants who never hurt anyone died while you talked about the greater good. That's not fair, Al started. Fair. Lisa's voice rose now. You want to talk about fair. Let me show you something. She pulled up images on the holographic display. Cities in ruins, hospitals bombed, schools destroyed, bodies in the streets. These are the people you abandoned, Lisa said. These are the ones who trusted the council to protect them. They sent 16 distress signals. 16 times they begged for help. And 16 times you told them to wait. The chamber was silent. No one looked at Al. Then humans came, Lisa continued. She changed the images. Human ships arriving, Marines helping civilians, medical teams treating the wounded, engineers rebuilding. We didn't debate. We didn't form committees. We just came. And do you know why? Enlighten us, Al said bitterly. Because it was the right thing to do. Admiral Hayes had traveled to Meridian 7 for the meeting. She stood now, her uniform clean but showing signs of recent battle. A bandage covered a wound on her arm. Al, may I ask you a question? Hayes said. If you must. How many warships did your intelligence say they had at Prime? 28, Al answered. And how many ships did Earth send? Al hesitated. 47 warships plus support vessels. We were ready to send more if needed, Hayes said. As many as it took. Because that's what you do when someone needs help. You don't count the cost. You don't calculate the risk. You just help. Easy to say when you won, Al sneered. Hayes smiled, but it was a sad smile. We lost 400 people in that battle, 400 men and women who died fighting for strangers. Their families will grieve for years. Some of our ships are so damaged they'll never fly again. But we won and they are free. That's worth the price. Elder Myra's entered the chamber. She looked thin and tired, but her eyes were clear. She walked to the center and looked at Al. I came to speak, she said simply. Elder Myra's, you don't need to, the speaker began. Yes, I do. Myra's turned to face the full council. My people have been artists and philosophers for 10,000 years. We never learned war because we believed the galaxy was civilized. We believed in the council. We were wrong. She pulled up her own images. This was my city before the came. Beautiful buildings, parks, schools. My daughter studied music there. My son painted in that gallery. She changed the images. This is what remains: rubble, ash, graves. We sent you our distress signals, Myers continued. We begged for help. We told you about the civilians dying, the children starving in shelters, and you sent us meeting schedules. And Al looked away. Then a merchant named X, a simple trader, risked his life to reach Meridian 7. He found humans, people we barely knew. And do you know what they said? Myra's voice broke. They said help is coming, not maybe. Not we'll think about it. They said help is coming, and 3 weeks later a war fleet arrived. She walked up to Al. You asked them what they wanted in return. They said nothing. They came, they fought, they died, and they asked for nothing. While you couldn't even be bothered to care. Al said nothing. What could he say? The council speaker stood. Al, you are removed from your position, effective immediately. The petition will be reviewed to determine how the council failed in its duties. Al left the chamber in disgrace. Around the room, others looked uncomfortable. They had all voted to delay, to wait, to avoid conflict. Ambassador, the speaker said, what are Earth's intentions now? Lisa had been waiting for this question. Earth wants peace. We always have, but we will not ignore calls for help. We will not stand by while the strong prey on the weak. Are you threatening the council? No, Lisa said. I'm informing you of human policy. When someone needs help and they ask us, we will answer. We hope the council will join us. But if you don't, we'll do it anyway. Another stood. He was from a small species that lived on the edge of known space. Ambassador, my people have suffered raids from pirates for years. The Council sends investigators but no protection. Would Earth help us? Before Lisa could answer, 5 more stood. Then 10. Then 20. All from smaller species, all with similar stories. Attacked, threatened, ignored. We can discuss mutual defense treaties, Lisa said carefully. But understand this, Earth is not building an empire. We're offering partnership. You keep your sovereignty. We help when help is needed. That's all. The speaker looked troubled. This could destabilize the galactic order. The galactic order was already broken, Jake said. He had been quiet until now. It just took humans to show everyone. When the strong can attack the weak with no consequences, that's not order. That's just tyranny with better manners. After the council session, X found Lisa and Jake. The merchant looked healthier now, his wounds healing. He had been reunited with the children he saved from Prime. I wanted to thank you again, X said. You already thanked us, Lisa said with a smile. I know, but I don't think I ever really understood what you did. You saved my people, all of them, and you lost lives doing it. Would you have done the same? Jake asked gently. X thought about it. I don't know. My people are peaceful. We don't think in terms of war and sacrifice. Maybe you should start, Jake said. Not to become warriors, but to understand what it means to fight for others. Because the galaxy needs more people willing to do that. Word of the council meeting spread as fast as news of the battle. Across the galaxy, species began to see humans differently. Some with fear, some with hope, most with respect. The Dominion was in chaos. With their main fleet destroyed, their subject species were rebelling. Planets that had been conquered were declaring independence. The empire was collapsing. In human space, things were changing too. Admiral Hayes returned to Earth as a hero, but she didn't feel like one. She kept thinking about the 400 dead, the families broken, the price of victory. General Foster visited her office. "You did good." "Did I? 400 dead." 400 dead, agreed. "And millions saved. That's the math of war. It's ugly, but it's real." "I know. Doesn't make it easier." It shouldn't. The day it gets easy is the day we've lost something important." They stood together, looking out at Earth below. Beautiful and deadly, the planet that had shaped them all. "More species are requesting defense treaties," said. "We're going to be stretched thin. Then we'll need to build more ships, train more Marines. Because if we say we'll help, we have to mean it." Agreed. 3 months after the battle, a memorial was built on Prime. 400 human names carved in stone, one for each fallen soldier. Elder Myra's dedicated it herself. "These names represent something rare in the galaxy," she said to the crowd of humans and gathered there. "Courage, compassion, the willingness to die for strangers. My people will remember them forever." Lieutenant Grant stood in the crowd, wearing her dress uniform. Half her squadron had died in the battle. She came to remember them. Beside her, Commander Ben Torres stood at attention. "They gave everything," he said quietly. "Yeah," said. "They did. Now we have to make sure it wasn't for nothing." Back at Meridian 7, Lisa and Jake stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Ships from dozens of species passed by, more traffic than the station had seen in years. Many were heading to Earth, seeking treaties and agreements. "Oh, you changed things," Jake said. "The galaxy won't be the same after this." "We all changed it," Lisa corrected. "Every person who said helping was more important than politics. Every soldier who put their life on the line. Every politician who stood up and said this matters." "What happens now?" Lisa smiled. "Now we show the galaxy what humans really are. Not just warriors, Not just savages but people who care, people who help, people who keep their promises. And if others threaten the peace, then we remind them why the phrase used to be an insult but is now said with respect. Her smile faded. We didn't ask to be the galaxy's protectors, Jake, but someone has to do it. Someone has to answer when the weak call for help. So we'll keep doing it. As long as we're needed. As long as there are people who need help. Because that's what makes us human. Not our strength or our technology. Our choice to help even when it's hard. They stood watching the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, someone else might be calling for help. And when they did, humans would answer. Because that's what humans do. In 1,000 systems, the story of Prime was told and retold. The humans who crossed half the galaxy for strangers. The battle that lasted 4 hours but changed everything. The fleet that came when no one else would. And in every telling, the message was clear. If you threaten the innocent, if you prey on the weak, if you think no one will stop you, remember Prime. Remember what happened when someone called for help and the humans answered. Remember the who kept their promise. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Humans hoped it wouldn't need to be taught again, but if it did, they would be ready. Because that's what it meant to be human. To stand up when others wouldn't. To fight when others feared, to help when others turned away. The call for help had brought a war armada, but more importantly, it had shown the galaxy what humanity truly was, and the galaxy would never forget.